The first thing I saw that morning was my mother's funeral program taped to the chapel easel. Cream paper, gold border, her name in the center, and underneath it, a sheriff's deputy stepping sideways to block me from the front doors. "Ma'am," he said, low and polite, "you can't go in." I thought he meant they were about to start. I even glanced at my watch. "I'm family," I said. "I'm her daughter." The deputy's face didn't change. "I know," he said. "That's why I came outside before you walked in." Then he held up a set of stapled papers. And just like that, the morning stopped being about my mother. It became about my sister. I stood there on the church walkway in a black dress and funeral shoes, looking at a temporary restraining order with my name on it. Petitioner, Elise Mercer. Protected party, Elise Mercer. Respondent, Nora Mercer, my sister. The order said I was not to contact her, approach her, harass her, threaten her, or come within a set distance of the funeral venue while she was present. It described me as volatile, obsessive, unpredictable. I actually laughed once, short, ugly. The kind of laugh your body makes when your brain refuses to process the insult fast enough. The deputy didn't react. He just turned the first page over and pointed to the hearing date. "Court hearing is Monday morning," he said. "Today this order is temporary. I'm only here to enforce what was signed." I looked past him. Through the chapel doors I could see movement, dark clothes, flowers, my mother's casket somewhere inside that room, and in the reflection on the glass I caught sight of my sister. And she was standing near the front row, greeting people like she was hosting an event. Calm, composed, tragic in a very curated way, like she'd woken up early and chosen grieving daughter as a look. I looked back at the papers. "This says I threatened her," I said. "I haven't even spoken to her in 3 weeks." The deputy gave me the same tired look people in uniform get when they know something is wrong but aren't the ones who get to fix it. "I'm not the hearing," he said. "I'm the front door." That line would have annoyed me if it wasn't true. Behind him, the church organ started. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. My mother and I were not simple. She loved me in that uneven, conditional way some mothers do, but she was still my mother. And now my sister had used one court paper to turn me into a stranger outside my own goodbye. I could have made a scene. God knows Elise probably wanted that. One raised voice, one tear-streaked walk toward the door, one moment she could point to later and say, "See? Dangerous." So I didn't. I stepped back. Slowly. "Do I get to leave flowers?" I asked. The deputy hesitated. "If you leave them with staff and do not enter or approach Ms. Mercer, I won't stop that." That was the first human thing anybody had said to me all morning. I nodded, set the flowers on a side table just inside the threshold, and walked away before my body betrayed me. I didn't go home. I went to my car and sat there in the parking lot with the air off and the windows up, holding the order in both hands like it might explain itself if I stared long enough. Well, that's when I saw the paragraph that made my stomach go cold. Under facts in support, my sister had written that I had left her disturbing voicemails and that she feared I would disrupt the funeral and make a public scene. Voicemails. Plural. I blinked hard and opened my call history. 3 weeks ago, after Mom's hospice nurse called me with an update, I had left Elise exactly one voicemail. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't even dramatic. It was me saying, "Call me back. We need to talk about Mom's medication and the home nurse schedule." That was it. I knew because I'm the kind of person who keeps receipts after growing up with someone like Elise. Texts, emails, screenshots, voice notes. Not because I'm paranoid, because my sister has always treated memory like a suggestion. My phone buzzed. Yeah, a text from a number I didn't know. No greeting, no name, just, "She wouldn't have wanted you inside." I stared at the message, then looked up. Elise was standing just outside the chapel doors now, looking directly toward the parking lot. Not crying, not grieving, watching. I didn't reply. I took a screenshot. Then I did the second smart thing I'd done all day. I called Mara Feld, the attorney who handled Mom's medical proxy mess last year, and once told me very calmly, "Your sister confuses urgency with power." Mara picked up on the third ring. "Nora? I'm outside my mother's funeral with a restraining order," I said. Silence. Then, "Stay exactly where you are and start from the top." I did. Not with speeches, not with my whole childhood, just facts. Temporary order, funeral, alleged voicemail, deputy at the door. Hearing Monday, text message from unknown number while I was sitting outside. Mara didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she asked, "Do you still have the voicemail you left her?" "Yes." "Good," she said. "Do you still have whatever she's claiming is threatening?" "She attached nothing," I said. "Just a description." "Even better," Mara replied. That almost made me smile. Almost. Mara's voice stayed calm, clipped, useful. "Here's what matters," she said. "Temporary orders get signed fast when someone writes the right words in the right boxes. Hearings are where stories have to survive daylight." I looked down at the papers again. "She kept me out of our mother's funeral," I said. "Mara didn't give me a speech about justice. She gave me instructions." "Drive to my office after the service starts," she said. "Not before. I don't want her claiming you lingered. Save the text. Save the order. Save every voicemail. And Nora?" "Yeah?" "If she left you anything at all, do not delete it." I swallowed. "Why?" Mara paused for half a beat. "Because women like your sister usually get greedy before they get careful." I left the parking lot the second the first hymn started. It felt wrong. It felt like betrayal in reverse. But I left. On the drive, my phone connected to the car Bluetooth and a voicemail notification popped up that I hadn't seen come in. From Elise. Timestamp, 41 minutes earlier, which meant she had called me while I was standing outside with flowers in my hand. I pulled into a gas station lot and pressed play. At first, all I heard was car noise and fabric moving. Then her voice. Not sad, not shaky, annoyed. "Listen," she said. "Do not make this harder than it needs to be. The order gets you out of the way for today, and by Monday the house issue will already be handled. So just stay gone." I stopped breathing for a second. The house issue. Mom's funeral was today. What house issue? Then Elise laughed softly, like she was talking to herself more than to me. "It was never about the funeral anyway," she said. "I just needed one clean day." The message ended there. No threat, no grief, just motive. And in that empty gas station parking lot with my black dress sticking to the back of my knees and my mother being buried without me, I knew exactly what Monday morning was going to become. Not a hearing about my danger, a hearing about what my sister was trying to do while she kept me outside. Mara's office was on the second floor of a brick building above a florist and a tax place. Not glamorous, not intimidating, which, honestly, I liked. It looked like the kind of place where problems got solved with staples and deadlines, not speeches. By the time I got there, my mascara had given up and my shoes hurt in that specific funeral way, like even your feet know the day went wrong. Mara didn't waste a second on comfort language. She took my phone, exported the voicemail, forwarded it to her case file, and had her assistant make a clean audio copy with the timestamp preserved. Then she looked at me over the rim of her glasses. "Start again," she said. "Not from childhood, from the order." So I did. Temporary restraining order. Ex parte. Served at the chapel door. Allegation that I was dangerous, unstable, or likely to disrupt the funeral. Claim that I had left disturbing voicemails. Hearing set for Monday morning. Mara took notes in these short, sharp lines that made everything sound less like heartbreak and more like a pattern. Then she asked, when she said, "By Monday the house issue will already be handled." "What house?" I stared at her. "My mother's house," I said. What else would she mean? Mara nodded once, like that was the answer she'd been expecting. "Who has keys?" she asked. "I do," I said. Or I did. Elise does too. Mom gave us both a key 2 years ago when her health started slipping. "Who lives there now?" "No one. Mom was in hospice the last 3 weeks." Mara leaned back in her chair. "So your sister gets a temporary order, keeps you away from the funeral. Man mentions a house issue being handled before Monday," she said. "That's not grief. That's scheduling." That line landed hard because it was true. Not emotional true. Mechanical true. I looked down at my hands. She wouldn't risk using the funeral just to be cruel. Mara's expression didn't soften, but her voice did. "Cruelty is often just efficiency with better branding," she said. Then she asked the question that changed the room. "Where did your mother keep the estate papers?" The answer came out before I even had to think. "In the den," I said. "Bottom drawer of the secretary desk, blue binder, copies of everything. Will, trust papers, insurance, house records, funeral contract, all of it." Mara's pen stopped. "And did your sister know that?" "Yes," I said. Mara nodded slowly. "Okay," she said. Then we stopped talking and start moving. She grabbed her bag, called her paralegal, Ivy, and told her to do 3 things. Calendar the Monday hearing. Pull the petition and all supporting exhibits from the court file. Start drafting an opposition with the voicemail transcript highlighted. Then Mara looked at me. "We're going to your mother's house," she said. I blinked. "Can we?" "The order keeps you away from your sister and the funeral venue," she said. "It does not give her ownership of your mother's property." That mattered. It mattered a lot. We were halfway to the car when my phone buzzed. I looked down. It was Mina Holloway, my mother's next-door neighbor. I answered immediately. "Nora," Mina said, breathless. "I didn't want to call during the service, but I think you need to come here." My heart kicked hard against my ribs. "Why?" I asked. "Because there's a locksmith at your mother's house," she said, "and a truck." Mara's eyes met mine across the sidewalk. There it was, the house issue. Mina kept going. "And there's some man carrying boxes out the front door," she said. "Your sister left 20 minutes ago but told them to keep working." I closed my eyes for half a second. Of course she did. Of course she wasn't even staying for the whole funeral. She just needed me outside long enough to make sure I couldn't interfere. Mara took the phone gently from my hand. "Miss Holloway, this is Attorney Mara Feld," she said. "Please do not confront anyone. Can you stay where you can see the front walk?" Mina said yes. Mara thanked her, hung up, and then opened the passenger door for me. "We're going now," she said. On the drive over, she called the local non-emergency line and requested a civil standby. Not SWAT, not sirens, just enough uniform to make hired people stop pretending they didn't hear words like estate property and no authority. That's one of the things I'm learning about courts and chaos. There's a difference between drama and control. My sister always wants drama. Mara wanted control. When we turned onto my mother's street, I saw the truck first. White box truck. No logo. Back doors open. Then the locksmith van. Then Mina standing across the lawn in gardening shoes, clutching her phone to her chest like she'd been waiting for us to arrive and tell her she wasn't crazy. And then I saw my mother's front door. Open. Not wide. Oh, just enough to tell the whole story. Men were carrying things out. Not furniture first, the way you do in a real estate clean-out. Boxes. Labeled boxes. Office boxes. The kind you use when what matters is paper. My throat went tight. Mara was out of the car before I even reached for the handle. She walked straight up the front path like she belonged there. A man in a work polo stepped down from the porch with a clipboard tucked under his arm, mid-40s, red face, defensive already. "Can I help you?" he asked. "Yes," Mara said. You can stop removing property until you show me who authorized this. He frowned. Family did. Which family? Mara asked. He hesitated. That was enough to tell me he hadn't asked enough questions before unloading a truck. My client is the decedent's daughter, Mara said, motioning to me. Show me the work order. The man tightened his grip on the clipboard. I really shouldn't. You really should, Mara said. Because unless you've seen letters of appointment from probate court, you're moving property based on nothing but someone's confidence. He blinked, and there it was. He had no idea what letters of appointment were. He thought, daughter says it's fine was authority. It isn't. He handed over the clipboard. Mara scanned it once, then handed it to me. The top line said, estate clear out / immediate access. Under that, authorized by Elise Mercer. Under that, special instructions, change locks today. Remove personal papers, office files, jewelry box, and upstairs fireproof lockbox. My hands went cold. The fireproof lockbox. My mother kept the spare house deed, the cemetery paperwork, insurance, and in her handwritten memorial notes in that box. Mara read my face instantly. What's in the box? She asked. I swallowed. Everything that matters. That wasn't dramatic. It was specific. The man with the clipboard shifted his weight. She said she was the only daughter handling things, he muttered. Mina made a noise from the sidewalk like she wanted to say, well, that was your first mistake, but she stayed put. Mara pointed at the line about the lockbox. And who told you to remove secured documents from an unadministered estate? She asked. The man's ears went pink. I'm just doing the job I was paid to do. Mara's voice stayed flat. Then let me make your day easier. Stop doing it. He looked over his shoulder toward the open door like maybe someone else would appear and save him. No one did. That's when the locksmith came out holding a brass deadbolt set in a cardboard sleeve. He saw us, saw the clipboard, saw Mara, and visibly wished he'd gone to lunch instead. Are you changing the locks? Mara asked. He nodded once. I was told to. By who? He glanced at the clipboard guy, then at me, then at the house. Elise Mercer, he admitted. She said the other sister was a problem. That sentence made me laugh once, but there was no humor in it. The problem was me seeing what she was doing. Mara turned back to the clipboard and pointed to the handwritten note at the bottom. Leave second key in lockbox for Elise only. There it was. Not subtle, not temporary, not about the funeral, possession. My mother's funeral was still going on while my sister rekeyed her house and boxed up the paperwork. Mara handed the clipboard back to the man. You are stopping now, she said. The police are on the way. If anything else leaves this property after this moment, you're doing it with notice that ownership and authority are disputed. The man stared at her, then at the open truck, then at the locksmith, then finally at me. And to his credit, he made the smart choice. He turned and shouted toward the doorway, Put it down, guys! Stop loading! Everything went quiet for a second. Then one of the movers came out carrying a small black metal box, fireproof, handle on top, my mother's label maker tag on the side, and my whole body went hot and cold at the same time. Because I knew that box. I knew exactly what it was. And taped to the lid was a yellow sticky note, in my mother's handwriting, 3 words. Take this first. And the first patrol car rolled up without lights. No sirens, no rush, just a quiet blue and white reality check pulling in behind the moving truck. A second unit came a minute later. One officer stepped out, late 30s, compact build, calm face, the kind of person who makes a scene feel smaller just by not joining it. His name tag read Cole. He took one look at the open truck, the locksmith van, the boxes stacked in the yard, and then at Mara standing on the walk with a clipboard in one hand and my mother's fireproof box in sight behind the mover's legs. What do we have? He asked. Mara gave him the short version. Temporary restraining order related to a funeral, she said. No property rights granted. Decedent's house being emptied during the service. No probate authority shown. In specific instruction to change locks and remove the fireproof box and estate papers. Officer Cole held out a hand for the paperwork. He read the work order first, then the TRO, then the sticky note still taped to the lid of the black box. Take this first. He didn't give us a speech. He looked at the man with the clipboard and said, "You're done moving right now." The man started to protest. "I was hired." Cole cut him off. Not rude, just final. "I don't care who hired you," he said. "You don't remove estate property from a dead woman's house because somebody sounds confident." That shut him up. Cole turned to the locksmith next. "Have you changed anything yet?" The locksmith lifted both hands a little, deadbolt box still tucked under one arm. "Not yet," he said. "I was about to." "You're not about to," Cole replied, "but put it back in the van." The locksmith did exactly that. Mina was still across the lawn, clutching her phone. Cole nodded toward her. "You the neighbor who called?" She straightened. "Yes." He walked over, took a quick statement, then came back with her phone in his hand. "She's got camera footage from across the street," he said to Mara. My pulse jumped. Mina's front door camera pointed just far enough across the road to catch my mother's driveway and the first few feet of the walk. Cole held the phone out so Mara and I could see. The timestamp was there. Same morning, during the funeral. The clip showed the truck arriving, the locksmith van, then Elise's SUV pulling in not long after. She got out in heels and black funeral clothes, walked straight up to the men, pointed toward the house, then toward the truck. In then back to the house again. No crying, no collapsed grief, no confusion, just logistics. Then she looked around once, quick, sharp, and went inside. A few minutes later, she came back out carrying a blue binder tight against her side. She passed it to the man with the clipboard, pointed at the house again, and left. I felt sick, because it wasn't just that she was doing it. It was how efficiently she was doing it. Mara looked at the screen and said, low and controlled, "That binder was in the den with the box." "What was in it?" Officer Cole asked. "Estate materials," I said. "Medical proxy copies, funeral paperwork, insurance, house records. My mother kept everything in one place." Cole nodded once. Then he turned to the movers. "Who has that binder now?" The man with the clipboard looked genuinely miserable now. Then he pointed toward the truck. One of the movers climbed in and came back down with a blue 3-ring binder. It had one of those ugly white spine labels people make with a home label printer. No fancy title, no mystery, just mom/house/will. My throat closed. Cole took the binder, flipped it open enough to confirm it was full of papers, then shut it again. He didn't hand it to me. He didn't hand it to Mara. He held it like evidence. And that was when the system started working in a way I could actually feel. Mara nodded toward the clipboard. "Call her," she said to the crew boss. He stared at her. "What?" "Call Elise," Mara repeated. "Tell her the police are here and ask what she wants you to do." He hesitated. Officer Cole solved that for him. "Put it on speaker," he said. The man swallowed, then dialed. Then Elise answered fast. "Yeah?" The crew boss glanced at Cole, then at Mara. "There's a problem," he said. "A lawyer's here. Police, too. They're saying we can't keep loading." Elise didn't sound scared. She sounded annoyed. "Did you get the box?" she asked. Every muscle in my body went tight. The crew boss looked at the black fireproof box on the lawn. "It's here." "And the blue binder?" she asked. "In my hand," he said. "Then put both in the truck and leave the rest," she snapped. "Those are the only things that matter." The whole yard went still. Officer Cole didn't move. Neither did Mara. The crew boss looked like he wanted the ground to open and swallow him whole. Mara was the first to speak, voice even. "Elise," she said, loud enough for the phone to carry. "This is attorney Mara Feld. You are on speaker with police present." Silence. Then the line crackled with the sound of her breathing. When she spoke again, the sugary grief was gone. "I don't know what you think you're doing," she said. Mara didn't answer that. She asked, "Why are the box and binder the only things that matter?" Another pause. Too long. Then Elise made the mistake that people like Elise always make. She tried to sound smarter than everyone in the room. "Because without the originals," she said, "Nora can't do anything by Monday." My stomach dropped. Officer Cole's eyes flicked to me. Mara's face didn't change. "Originals of what?" she asked. Elise exhaled, irritated now. "The will, the house papers, the funeral packet, whatever's in there. Just get them out before she gets there." The line went dead. She'd hung up. Oh, nobody said anything for a second. Then Officer Cole took the phone from the crew boss and said, "I'm going to need that call log." The crew boss handed it over without a word. Cole looked at the black box again. There was a small strip of old label tape on the side, half peeled, half stuck. He crouched, wiped a little dust off it with his thumb, and read aloud. H. Pike / Originals. Mara's head came up. "Harlan Pike," she said. "That's your mother's estate attorney." I stared at the box, then at the blue binder, then back at Mara. And all at once, the timeline made sense. The TRO wasn't just about humiliating me at the funeral. It was about getting one clean morning to strip the house of anything that proved what my mother had actually planned. Mara took her phone out and dialed without asking me first. And a receptionist answered, "Harlan Pike's office." "This is Mara Feld," she said. "I'm standing outside Doris Mercer's residence with police present. A fireproof box labeled H. Pike / Originals, and a daughter who was just excluded from the funeral by temporary restraining order. I need to know one thing." She paused. "Was there a probate or estate appointment set for Monday morning?" The receptionist's voice changed instantly. "Yes," she said. 9 a.m. Mr. Pike was expecting both daughters. Mara closed her eyes for half a beat, then opened them. "Not anymore," she said. She looked at me after she hung up. "She needed one day," Mara said quietly. "One day to get the originals before Monday probate." Officer Cole held the blue binder and the black box a little tighter. And then he said the sentence that turned the whole morning from ugly to useful. "These stay with me until the court tells me otherwise." And for the first time since I saw the deputy at the chapel doors, I felt something almost like relief. Because now Elise wasn't controlling the evidence had a badge standing next to it. Monday morning started in 2 courtrooms. That was the first thing Mara explained when we parked. "Family court first," she said, gathering her files. "Restraining order hearing, then probate." I looked at the gray building in front of us and felt that weird split-screen sensation, like half my life was about my mother being gone, and the other half was about proving my sister had used that grief like a crowbar. Officer Cole had done exactly what he promised over the weekend. He logged the blue binder and the black fireproof box as recovered property pending court direction. He took statements from Mina, the locksmith, the moving crew boss, and me. He also preserved the speakerphone call where Elise said the box and binder were the only things that matter, which meant by Monday, this wasn't just me saying, "My sister is awful." It was a timeline, and timelines are hard to charm. Mara walked beside me through security and into the civil hallway, like she'd done it 1,000 times before. She probably had. "Do not talk to Elise in the hallway," she said. "Do not look reactive. Let her do the talking." That turned out to be easy. Elise was already there, seated outside the hearing room with her attorney. Black suit, hair perfect. A funeral expression traded in for concerned litigant. She didn't look scared. She looked irritated that the weekend hadn't gone the way she planned. When she saw me, her mouth tightened just slightly. That was enough for me. Inside, the hearing room was smaller than the courtroom from Friday. No gallery, no audience, just a judge, a clerk, the 2 tables, and a silence that made every paper shuffle sound louder than it should. The judge took the bench, glanced at the file, and looked up. "This is the hearing on the temporary restraining order issued Friday," she said. "Ms. Mercer, you sought ex parte relief on the basis that your sister was dangerous, unstable, and likely to disrupt your mother's funeral." Elise stood. "Yes, Your Honor." The judge looked down again. "You also alleged threatening voicemails," she said, and Elise's chin lifted. "Yes." Mara stood next. "Your Honor," she said, "we are asking that the temporary order be dissolved immediately. The petitioner omitted material facts, used the order to block my client from her mother's funeral, and, more importantly, used that window of exclusion to direct the removal of estate papers and a secured originals box from the decedent's residence before a probate appointment set for Monday morning." The judge's eyes lifted. That got her attention. Elise's attorney was already on his feet. "Your Honor, the probate issue is separate." The judge stopped him with one hand. "It's separate if it's separate," she said. "If it's motive, it's not separate." Then she looked at Mara. "Ja, show me motive." Mara handed up 3 things in clean order: the work order from the moving crew, the preserved call summary from Friday, and a transcript of Elise's voicemail to me. The judge read the work order first. Her expression didn't change, but her pen stopped at one line: remove personal papers, office files, jewelry box, and upstairs fireproof lockbox. Then she read the transcript summary from the speakerphone call. "Did you get the box?" "Those are the only things that matter." Then she looked at the voicemail transcript, and for the first time since she sat down, she leaned forward. "This is the voicemail your client left?" she asked Mara. "Yes, Your Honor," Mara said. "Left after the order was served, and while my client was excluded from the funeral." The judge looked at Elise's attorney. "Did you review this before coming in?" she asked. He hesitated. "Not long, just long enough to make the answer obvious. Not this exact transcript, no," he admitted. Elise's jaw twitched. The judge turned to her. "Ms. Mercer," she said, "did you leave a voicemail telling your sister that the order gets her out of the way for today and that by Monday the house issue will already be handled?" Elise didn't answer immediately. She smoothed the edge of a paper instead. Then she said, "I was upset." The judge stared at her. "That is not an answer." Elise inhaled, then tried the same move she always tried: take a clean question and fog it up with emotion. "My mother had just died," she said. "Everything was falling on me. Nora makes everything harder. I was trying to protect the service." The judge didn't bite. "You can protect a service by asking church staff for security," she said. "You do not get an ex parte order by making false statements." Elise's attorney jumped in. "Your Honor, we dispute the interpretation." The judge held up the transcript. "It literally says it was never about the funeral anyway," she said. The room went still. Not dramatic still. The kind of still where everybody realizes the paper is now doing the talking. The judge looked at the clerk. "Do we have the audio file?" she asked. Mara nodded. "On a drive and already exchanged." The judge extended her hand. "Play it." Elise's face changed. Just a flicker, but I saw it. Not grief, not outrage, panic. The clerk connected a small speaker, clicked once, and the room filled with the sound of my sister's voice. First, the rustle of movement. Then a car door, maybe. Traffic in the distance. Then Elise. "Listen, do not make this harder than it needs to be. The order gets you out of the way for today, and by Monday the house issue will already be handled. So just stay gone." A pause. Then the soft little laugh. "It was never about the funeral anyway. I just needed one clean day." The speaker went quiet. No one moved. The judge didn't say anything for a full 3 seconds, which in a courtroom feels like 3 years. Then she looked at Elise. Not angry, not theatrical, just very, very done. "You used this court to get your sister out of the way while you moved on estate property," she said. Elise's attorney stood up. Your Honor, she was grieving and spoke carelessly. The judge cut him off so cleanly it almost felt surgical. No, she said. One, careless words don't produce moving trucks, a locksmith, and instructions to seize the originals box during a funeral. Then she looked at Elise again. Did you or did you not direct people to remove the binder and box from the house? Elise swallowed. And for the first time, she looked less polished and more like a person who had finally run out of versions of the story. Yes, she said quietly. The judge nodded once, like she'd just checked a box. Then she said the sentence I had been waiting for since the chapel doors closed in my face. The temporary restraining order is dissolved, she said. My lungs finally worked again, but the judge wasn't finished. Furthermore, she continued, I find that the petitioner sought ex parte relief in bad faith, omitted material facts, and used this court's order for an improper purpose. Elise's attorney's shoulders dropped, because now it wasn't just a bad hearing, it was a finding. The judge picked up her pen. I am awarding attorneys fees on the motion, she said, and I am referring the file, including the voicemail, for review of perjury and misuse of judicial process. Elise went white, not pale from sadness, white from consequences. Then the judge said something that made the whole weekend click into place. And because there is a related probate matter this morning, she added, I am ordering that the recovered binder and lockbox remain secured and be delivered directly to the probate judge, not to either daughter. Mara nodded once. That is all we asked for, Your Honor. The judge looked at me then, briefly. Ms. Mercer, she said, your mother's funeral is over. I can't repair that. My throat tightened. But I can stop this from being used again, she said. And somehow that was enough to keep me sitting upright. Outside the hearing room, Elise didn't speak to me. She couldn't, because by the time we stepped into the hallway, Officer Cole was already there with the evidence property receipt in his hand, and Harlan Pike, the estate attorney, waiting by the probate department doors. And the second Harlan saw Mara, he lifted the black fireproof box slightly and said, Good, the originals stayed sealed. Then he looked at Elise. And now, he said, calm as a coffin nail, we're going to talk about what your mother actually signed. Probate was upstairs. Different judge, different clerk, different kind of silence. Family court had just taken away the lie. Or probate was where we found out what the lie was protecting. Harlan Pike was already inside when we walked in, standing at counsel table with the blue binder and the black fireproof box Officer Cole had signed over on a temporary evidence release. He looked the way older estate lawyers always look in a crisis, annoyed, awake, and entirely unimpressed by family theatrics. Elise was there too, this time with her attorney and no performance left in her face. The probate judge took the bench, glanced at the file, then looked at Harlan. Mr. Pike, she said, you requested this appointment hearing after the decedent's funeral. I understand there has been interference regarding the estate documents. Harlan nodded once. Yes, Your Honor. He didn't waste the court's time with speeches. Then he opened the blue binder first and laid 3 original documents on the table. The decedent's original will, he said, her revocable trust amendment, and her written funeral instructions. Then he looked at Elise, and all 3 were targeted for removal before this hearing. The judge's eyes lifted. By whom? She asked. Harlan didn't answer with emotion. He answered with order. The moving company work order named Elise Mercer, he said. The locksmith invoice named Elise Mercer. The recovered call on speaker directed removal of the binder and the fireproof box specifically. Those are the only items she told them to prioritize. The judge turned to Elise. Do you dispute that? She asked. Elise's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client was under tremendous emotional pressure. The judge held up a hand. That is not an answer. She looked back at Elise. "Do you dispute it?" Elise swallowed. "No," she said quietly. The judge nodded like she had expected that. Then she turned to Harlan again. "Show me why those documents mattered so much." Harlan opened the funeral instructions first. It was one typed page with my mother's signature at the bottom. He handed it to the clerk, and the clerk read the line that made my chest ache in a way I wasn't ready for. "Both of my daughters are to attend my funeral, and neither is to be excluded from the service or visitation for any reason not directed by the court on actual evidence of danger." The room went very still. Not dramatic still. Just the kind that happens when everybody realizes the dead woman saw the problem before the court did. The judge looked up slowly. "Yeah, so the respondent was never meant to be kept away," she said. Harlan's answer was dry and clean. "Correct, Your Honor. Quite the opposite." Elise looked down at the table. For the first time since Friday, she looked embarrassed. The judge didn't let the moment drift. "And the trust amendment?" she asked. Harlan opened the next original. "This was executed 11 days before death," he said. "It removes Elise Mercer from any role in handling the residence, estate papers, or personal property inventory. It appoints an independent fiduciary if there is any dispute between the daughters." He handed it up. The judge skimmed the paragraph, then read the key line herself. "If Elise Mercer attempts to remove documents, direct contractors, change locks, or interfere with access to the residence before formal administration, she is to be treated as acting without authority." Elise's attorney went completely still. My stomach dropped. Not from fear this time, but from the awful clarity of it. My mother knew. She knew Elise would try this. She wrote around it. The judge looked at Harlan. "Was Elise aware of this amendment?" "No," he said. "That is why the originals mattered. The photocopies in her possession were older. That was it. That was the whole engine. She didn't need me outside the funeral because she was grieving too hard. She needed me outside because she thought she had one clean morning to get the only documents that could block her." The judge turned to Elise. "So you sought a restraining order Friday morning," she said. "Used it to exclude your sister from the funeral, when during that window directed a locksmith and movers to remove estate documents that would have disqualified you from control." Elise tried one last time to make it sound softer than it was. "I was trying to keep things organized," she said. The judge's face didn't change. "No," she said, "you were trying to get there first." Then she started issuing orders in the same steady voice that makes everything real. "First, I am appointing the independent fiduciary named in the trust amendment as temporary administrator of the residence and personal property. Second, Elise Mercer is barred from entering, securing, altering, removing, or directing any action regarding the residence. Third, all keys are to be surrendered today. Any copies are to be disclosed. Fourth, no contractor, locksmith, mover, art, or third party is to act on Elise Mercer's instructions regarding this estate. Fifth, the original documents remain lodged with this court, and copies go only through estate counsel and the appointed fiduciary." Then she looked directly at Elise. "And because I have the family court findings regarding bad faith use of a temporary restraining order," she added, "I am also entering a temporary no-contact order between the parties' outside communications through counsel regarding the estate." That was the door closing, not a moral victory, an actual one. Elise's attorney stood up slowly. "Your Honor, regarding fees—" The judge didn't let him shape it. "The fees from family court stand," she said. "If additional estate costs are caused by Ms. Mercer's interference, they may be surcharged against her share." That got Elise's attention faster than anything else had all morning, because money is the only language she has ever treated as real. "What share?" she said before her lawyer could stop her. Harlan answered that one. "The trust leaves the residue 50-50, he said. unless one daughter causes avoidable estate losses. The judge nodded. And based on what I've seen this morning, she said, avoidable losses are already a live issue. Elise went pale. Not movie pale, the real kind. The kind that drains out when someone realizes they just turned their own inheritance into a bill. The judge signed the appointment order then and there. No delay. No come back next week. The clerk stamped it. The fiduciary's office, already waiting downstairs, because Harlan does not play games, received a copy within the hour. By early afternoon, the locks were changed again, this time by court-authorized instruction. The movers were canceled. The title company was notified there would be no transaction, and the house sat exactly where it should have been all along, untouched. That evening, Mara emailed me the signed family court order too. Temporary restraining order dissolved. Attorney's fees granted. Referral for review of false statements and misuse of process. Boring words, beautiful words. Then came the part commenters always want and stories too often skip. What happened to Elise? Not, maybe someday? Not, we'll see. What actually happened? 3 days later, through her attorney, she returned every key she had. A week later, the fiduciary sent a formal notice that any additional estate costs tied to her attempted clear-out, including the locksmith call, the moving crew cancellation, and emergency legal filings, were being tracked against her share. 2 weeks later, the fee order from family court was entered in a fixed amount, and her lawyer requested 60 days to pay it. And when Elise made the truly stupid choice of texting me from a friend's phone, "You got lucky," Mara filed it. The judge extended the no-contact terms and warned that any further direct contact would be treated as a violation. So no, she didn't walk away. She lost control of the house. She lost access to the originals. She lost the right to handle the estate. She got hit with fees, and every extra dollar she cost the estate moved like a shadow behind her share. And that's what happened to her. As for me, I went back to the cemetery alone the next morning. No service, no crowd, no sister. Just the fresh dirt, the flowers, and the part of grief that starts after the noise is over. I brought the funeral instructions with me. Not the original, just the copy Harlan gave me. I read the line about both daughters being allowed there. Then I folded it back up and put it in my coat pocket. Because in the end, the thing my sister tried hardest to steal wasn't the house. It was position. She wanted to be the one standing in the middle, deciding who mattered, who got in, who stayed outside, what got moved, what got kept. And all it took to break that was a voicemail she didn't think anyone would hear. It was never about the funeral, but it ended there for her. And that was enough.